First, what is ALM? The audio-lingual method is an oral-based approach used in teaching foreign languages. This means that language learning begins with listening and speaking, not reading and writing. ALM believes that learners acquire language best when they hear it repeatedly and imitate it accurately, forming correct language habits. The main objective of ALM is the teaching of oral skills with accurate pronunciation, grammar, and the ability to respond quickly and accurately, as supported by B.F. Skinner's behaviorist theory. In practical terms, this means students are trained to respond automatically. For example, when the teacher asks, "How are you?" the student can instantly answer, "I'm fine, thank you." According to Richards and Rogers, first 1986, reading and writing were relegated to later stages of language study. In an ALM classroom, students first master speaking and listening before they are asked to read sentences or write paragraphs. As stated by Larson Freeman, 2000, the audio-lingual method drills students in the use of grammatical sentence patterns. This means grammar is learned through practice, not explanation. Instead of explaining the rules of the past tense, the teacher repeatedly models sentences like, "I went to school," until students can say them naturally. Now let us discuss the key features and principles of the audio-lingual method. First, emphasis is placed on developing oral skills, including listening and speaking, with the goal of enabling students to use the target language communicatively. For example, students practice everyday situations such as greetings, ordering food, or asking for directions. Second, repetition and drilling are central to this method. The teacher provides a model, and students repeat it in a controlled and structured manner. For instance, the teacher says, "She is reading," and the class repeats until pronunciation and intonation are accurate. Third, language is taught in discrete structural patterns, and mastery of one pattern is required before moving to the next. Students may first practice simple present tense before learning the past tense. Fourth, vocabulary is learned inductively through context and association, not through direct explanation. Vocabulary is often presented in thematic situations, such as a dialogue in a restaurant to learn food-related words. Fifth, errors are actively corrected by the teacher, and positive reinforcement is used to encourage correct responses. If a student says, "He go to school," the teacher immediately corrects it to, "He goes to school." Sixth, dialogues are a common teaching tool. Students memorize and reproduce dialogues that illustrate language patterns. These dialogues help learners use language in real-life situations. Seventh, the use of the student's native language is minimized or avoided, creating an immersive environment where students think directly in the target language. Eighth, students are encouraged to imitate pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm through mimicry, helping them internalize correct language patterns. Ninth, the teacher is seen as a model and director, guiding drills, providing examples, and correcting errors. Lastly, cultural explanations are often avoided, with focus placed on linguistic forms and patterns. Now, let us look at the pros and cons of ALM. Among the pros, students practice useful language from the very first class, develop better pronunciation, and show increased participation through drills and visual cues. However, the cons include too much focus on the teacher, limited vocabulary due to emphasis on structure, and reduced teacher creativity because lessons may become mechanical. Finally, even if we set the method aside, we can still adapt 3 basic ALM techniques in today's classroom. First, focus on practical pronunciation. ALM emphasizes that the sounds of a language are the basic building blocks of communication. Before learners can express ideas clearly, they must first produce sounds accurately. In the classroom, this means explicitly teaching the sound system of the target language. For example, many Filipino learners of English struggle with sound distinctions such as f and p, or b and v. The teacher models these sounds clearly, students listen carefully, and then imitate. This is not just repetition for its own sake. It trains students' ears and mouths to produce accurate speech. One useful technique here is the use of tongue twisters. Tongue twisters help students strengthen articulation, improve fluency, and gain confidence in speaking. For instance, before a speaking activity, the teacher may ask students to repeat a short tongue twister to warm up their speech organs. This prepares them physically and mentally for oral communication. Second, structural drilling exercises. Structural drills help students move from individual sounds to meaningful sentence patterns. Instead of explaining grammar rules abstractly, ALM allows students to practice grammatical structures repeatedly until they become automatic. For example, through repetition drills, students repeat a model sentence such as, "She is studying English." In substitution drills, one word changes, like replacing English with math, while the sentence structure remains the same. In multiple slot substitution drills, several parts change, increasing difficulty while maintaining accuracy. These drills are especially useful for beginners because they reduce anxiety. Students know exactly what to say and how to say it, allowing them to focus on accuracy and fluency without fear of making mistakes. Third, dialogue practice. Dialogues are one of the most practical ALM techniques because they connect language to real-life situations. Students practice short, structured conversations, such as greeting someone, ordering food, or asking for directions. There are standard dialogues, where students memorize a model conversation, and improvisational dialogues, where students slightly modify the learned patterns. For example, after memorizing a dialogue in a restaurant, students may change the food items or roles, applying the same structure in a new context. Dialogue practice helps students understand how language functions socially, not just grammatically. It builds confidence and prepares them for real communicative situations. In conclusion, these 3 ALM techniques, practical pronunciation, structural drilling, and dialogue practice, can be easily adapted to any language classroom. When used flexibly, they provide strong support for developing learners' oral proficiency without requiring teachers to follow the audiolingual method rigidly.
Now here is my lesson plan on the simple past tense of regular and irregular verbs, where I used the audiolingual method as my foundation to effectively teach elementary students through listening, repetition, and oral drills. Feel free to pause the video if you want so you can follow. The audiolingual method, ALM, plays a central role in my lesson plan as it shapes how learning happens inside the classroom. Not just what is taught, but how students actively engage with the language. Grounded in behaviourist theory, ALM treats language learning as habit formation, where students learn best through listening, repetition, and constant practice. In my lesson on the simple past tense, this method becomes the backbone that keeps everything running smoothly. One clear situation where ALM is applied is during the early part of the lesson, when students are instructed to listen first and not speak yet. For example, when I say, "I studied English last night," students are not immediately asked to explain the rule. Instead, they simply listen. This ears first, mouth later approach helps learners absorb correct sentence patterns naturally. It sets the tone and, honestly, gets everyone on the same page. No guesswork, no confusion. The drills used throughout the lesson show ALM in action. In the substitution and transformation drills, students change only one part of the sentence at a time, such as the verb or the time word, while keeping the structure intact. During the group oral drill in the developing mastery stage, students work together to repeat, modify, and reconstruct sentences like, "I studied English last night." This creates a low-pressure environment where students can practice without fear. Mistakes happen, sure, but that's part of the process. The key is immediate correction and positive reinforcement, which helps students bounce back quickly instead of shutting down. Another classroom situation that highlights ALM is the teacher's constant modelling. I act as the main language source, guiding students step by step. When students respond correctly, I reinforce it with simple praise like, "Good job," or "Nice one." Small things, but they go a long way. It keeps the energy up and tells learners, "Hey, you've got this." Overall, ALM supports my teaching by making language learning active, structured, and practical. Instead of overloading students with explanations, the lesson allows them to learn by doing. By the end of the class, students may not recite grammar rules word for word, but they can confidently say what they did yesterday, and that's the real win.
1, 2, 3, go.
On, in, the pie,
on, in, under by, on, in, under by. Where is the rabbit?
by, cough.
Good job. Okay, so one more time. Let's sing together. 1, 2, 3, go.
On, in,
under
the
by,
pie,
on, in, under
the
by,
pie,
on, in, under
under
by.
by.
Where is the rabbit?
in the cough.
Under the cup. Okay, one more time. All right, let's sing together. 1, 2, 3, go. On,
On, in,
under
the
by,
pie,
on, in, under
under
by,
by,
on, in, under
under
by.
by.
Where is the rabbit?
by cough.
By, oh, is it by car?
By cough.
By the car. Well done. All right, so the last time, yes or no? Lần cuối cùng.
Yes.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, go.
On, in,
under
the
by,
pie,
on,
in,
under
the
by,
pie,
on, in, under by. Where is the rabbit?
under cough.
Good job.
To wrap up, this lesson on the simple past tense highlights how the audiolingual method can support students in developing confidence and accuracy in using English. And I hope this presentation gave you a clear and practical picture of how the method works in an actual classroom. Thank you so much for watching.